All right, everyone, welcome to Gas Candy, and if you're already subscribed, welcome back. Today, we're going to be discussing the history of our Malibu wagon. Stick with us. Alright guys, so what we've been running into is it's winter time, and me and Dave both have primary jobs, and we kind of just do this in our spare time. So in order to get a video out every week, we're going to be trying this and giving you brief histories on the cars and just kind of a little backstory behind them, because I don't think we have one car between us that doesn't have some weird story or just oddness or funniness that has happened on how we've gotten it. So anytime we're waiting for parts, or we're just trying to fill the schedule and just trying to give you some history on it, this is what we're going to be trying. And today we're going to start with the car that kind of started it all. Me and Dave have always wanted to do a channel for a long time, and his sister got the notion one day because we didn't kind of know where to start. She said, well, just put a camera out there and just film what you guys normally do and just see what happens. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We enjoy it. We hope you guys enjoy it. It don't get any more real than this. You know what I mean? I mean, you guys are here when we don't have parts on time, and when something goes horribly wrong, or it's not scripted. I mean, it's as raw as it can get. So that is our goal, is to bring it as real as possible. And that's exactly what it is. Neither one of us are actors. We're just regular dudes just like working on cars, and we enjoy the car community and watching other people. I can't tell you how many people I'm subscribed to myself just because I like their stuff, and it's something happens to them and I can tell right away. It's like, yes, I've had that happen to me, and that's what's great about the whole thing. It's learning, and it's watching and learning of what other people do, how they fix problems, how they address problems, and how they overcome it, and then we kind of bring it to you in our flavor. So that's kind of what we're doing. But with this car, with the Malibu, we got this Malibu in kind of a weird way. It was I've always wanted a Malibu wagon. I've always loved wagons. I don't know what it is about them. It's just always been a thing of mine. I've always liked the idea of a hot rod wagon, and everyone. There's a select few people that will agree with me on this. Long roof for life. But I've always wanted one, and I just happened to be fishing around on Marketplace, and this is going back a few years. So Marketplace isn't what it was now. It was more essentially like yard sales and people around the corner. I don't think there was a whole lot of like corporate sponsoring or anything like that. Now a lot of times when you get on there, it take you over to like, oh, would you like to buy this brand new? And so in many ways it was a lot better, because what you were getting was a yard sale, a virtual yard sale essentially. And I liked it. I mean, me personally, I liked it better that way. I didn't have to deal with all the bot tracking and all that crap that they have now. But so I'm online, and I'm with my dad at an auction, and we see this. Well, I see the wagon come up online on Marketplace, and the way it's worded is just I could tell the guy was mad, clearly, because the way it was worded, it was along the lines of I'll try to paraphrase a bit here, but it was along the lines of, I don't want this car. Come and get it now, please. It basically said, I've had it with this expletive car. If anybody expletive is out there that wants it, expletive to me your expletive phone number, or expletive hit me back, and you can have this expletive car. And there was a bunch more in there than that. I really don't know how he got away with it in the description of the car, but I sat there, it made me laugh, because I knew that this was a guy that was just kind of, he was at the end. You know what I mean? Everybody has that point where you've worked on the car and worked on the car and worked on the car and you can't get it going, or it's just like bad juju and there's something going on with it. You can't figure it out, but the only thing you know about it is you had enough and it is going. So that is where this guy was. So it was the wagon. It had 350 turbo in it and a 10-bolt posi out of a Monte Carlo. I'm assuming Monte Carlo. Everything just kind of looks that way. It's a G body to a G body. So, and it's not an 8.5 out of a Grand National. It's it's the regular 10-bolt that you would get out of a G body or out of a Monte Carlo per se. So, and it had 3.5 inch or no 3 inch. Yeah, 3-inch Flowmaster exhaust all the way back. True dual exhaust all the way back. And he had the Pro Comp, headers for the small block. It had a small block in it, and he took it out. What happened was he bought it, and he only had it for like a day, and then ended up blowing the motor up. Couldn't get a hold of the guy that he originally bought it off of, or that he bought it off of the other day, because I guess they met at like, a local like Piggly Wiggly or Acme or something, a parking lot essentially, because he didn't know where the guy lived. So I think, I want to say that the guy probably knew what he was doing when he sold the car, but I can't prove, it kind of is what it is. It doesn't mean anything anyway. He sold the car, the guy bought it and blew the engine up. So he got to the point that that was it. That was the last straw, a day. That's got to be some kind of a record. So puts his hand up on Facebook. I hit him up. Now, the key to this whole story is he's on the other side of Richmond, Virginia, which for me is like 9.5 hours away, roughly. It's probably like a little over 8 hours in a car, but with a truck and a trailer and what have you, it's going to be a little bit longer. So I call him up right away and I tell him, I say, hey, listen, man, I'm really interested in the car. I'm like 9 hours away though. Do you want me to send you some cash online or through PayPal or what have you? I was just trying to figure out a way that I could get him the money so that he would save the car. And I don't know if he was drinking, but it sounded like he was drinking. So he's on the other line, and he's like, are you really coming? And I was like, yeah, dude. I said, I'm 9 hours. Like, I'll be there. I'm getting ready to leave right now. I'm dead serious. I'm on my way. I want the car. I'm not even going to argue the price. I'll be right. Which, by the by, he only wanted $1,500. So you're not. That is, that'll get me out of my chair. So he tells me, he's like, all right, if you're really serious, you're really expletive coming. I'll go ahead and I'll hold it for you until you get here. But if you ain't expletive here tonight, I'm coming to find you. I don't know. I guess everyone has those days. I've never threatened a random stranger on the phone, but to each his own. So I get the best part about this story is I didn't even have my truck. When I called the guy and told him that I was hooking up to the trailer, I actually had Dave's truck because my truck was in the shop. Something happened. I had a 07 Silverado. It had an 8.1 in it, and I just had bad luck with the engine. It is what it was. I think that I had a lot wrong with the truck when I bought it, and I just didn't catch it all because I was in a spot where I needed the truck really bad, and I didn't want to pay for diesel. It is what it is. So. My truck's not here. I have Dave's truck, which is another Silverado 3500 or Silverado 2500, but it's a 6.0, not an 8.1. So he's let me borrow it. He's got we both have multiple trucks because when you do what we do, you can't be down for long. So I'm driving his Silverado. He's got a dually that he drives for work. So his company was letting him use a truck, whatever it is, what it is. So, come back to the house. I go to get my trailer. My trailer still has a car on it, and I got 2 flat tires. Don't know how. They're just flat on the passenger side. Don't have time to look at it. Don't have time to deal with it. I told this guy I was on my way. I got to get out of here. So, I ended up hooking up to my dad's trailer. I don't even tell him that I'm taking his trailer. I just hook up to it and roll. I called him later on. I was like, yeah, hope you don't need your trailer. But, and then rolling down the road with it. So I pull out of my driveway. Dave just happens to work. He does a lot of work on farms. So he was just happened to be at a farm that was, really right down the road from where I was at. And I happened to see his truck. So I run it. Yo, I'm going to Virginia. You want to ride with me? I'm getting this car. Literally the greatest answer. Yeah, let me park this. Let's go. Didn't ask me what it was. Didn't ask me how much it was. Didn't ask me none of that. Just let's go. He gets in the passenger side of his truck because I'm still driving. So we flip around at the farm, start rolling out. We're coming back because the way to get to 95 from my place, I actually had to pass my place again just to get on 95 so I could start making my way down to Virginia. Right before I get to my house, my buddy Melon, Nick, we did a tribute. He unfortunately passed away last February. We did a tribute to him on the channel, but he's always lived up the street from me. He's always been about 3 houses up, and I've known him since I was 3-4 years old. Rode the same bus, went to the same school. We did everything together. It was really the three of us. It was me, him, and Dave, and we had a couple other friends kind of on the outskirts. You know what I mean? They were still friends, but I mean as a tight group. You know what I mean? Anyway, he's out getting his mail. So Dave looks over at me. He goes, "Yo, see if Mel wants to go with us." And I told him, I was like, "Dude, he's not going to want to go to Virginia." He goes, "Don't tell him we're going to Virginia." He goes, "Let's just see if he wants to go help us get a car. It's Friday." I was like, "All right, cool, whatever." You know what I mean? Now, Nick didn't have a girlfriend and he doesn't have kids. So he's single. So if anybody's going to say in the comments, "Oh my God, you kidnapped him," I did. We did. Totally. 100%. But we called his mom and his dad, let them know, his brothers. We let people know we were abducting him after it was said and done. Now Nick, he enjoys the herbal refreshments. So I told him, I said, "Look, man," and when we stopped at the mailbox to tell him that we were going to get a car, we said, "Hey man, we're just going to get a car right down the road. You want to come with us?" And he was already, I think he was already starting to partake because at the end of the day he was off work, and he agreed with like very little hesitation. Usually it's like I got to fill out paperwork and send it to a notary and to send to him before he considers. You know what I'm saying? It's just that he was always really busy, so it was one of those things. But he's like, "Yeah, man, I'll go. Sure." Pop open the back door. He hops in. And we get going down the road. Now, me and Dave don't do that. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. I don't care about it. I barely drink too. I just don't, It is what it is. This is my personal preference. So, Mel's in the back, and this is Dave's truck. So he's asking Dave, he's like, "Hey man, you mind if I smoke a little bit?" He's like, "No, whatever, man. Whatever. Just, because we don't get pulled over in the car with anyway, so you might as well just smoke it now, so that we don't have anything, even if we were to get pulled over." So he goes ahead and smokes the last little bit that he has, and ends up completely passing out in the back seat. I mean, like fall over. I could have gotten into an accident. It wouldn't have mattered because he was dead asleep. So we start driving. I totally forget that he's back there. So now I'm sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. Before he got into the truck, the persuasion was, "Come with us to get a car and I'll buy you dinner." You know what I mean? And that was all the persuasion needed. That's why I think he was already starting to partake, because the munchies were starting to take a hold. That's why he was like, "Yeah, free dinner, hell, let's go." So that being said, fast forward back to where we were. He's asleep in the back. He was asleep for a good four hours or so, and me and Dave were just talking back and forth. We're just driving, and he wakes up, and we're going through Maryland. oh boy. Yeah, we were going through DC at this point. And he wakes up and he's like, oh man, you know, where are we at? Are we close? Or, oh man. And he's looking down at his watch. He's like, dude, what is going on? I'm like, yeah, man, don't worry. Well, he's like, where are we at? And I'm like, don't worry, man. I was like, we're like, you know, we're in Maryland somewhere. You know what I mean? I was like, don't worry about it. He's like, looking around. And then he kind of looks out the passenger side window and he's like, that's the Capitol building. We're not in Maryland. We're in DC. Where are we going to? And he starts freaking out. I'm trying to hold it together and not wreck the truck and the trailer blasting down 95 because I was laughing so hard because he's freaking out in the back. Now there's nothing he can do. He's in it to win it at this point. He damn sure ain't going to get a ride back. I ain't turning around. So the only way to get through this is to go with us in the car and get on out. A little upset. And then at the very end of it, at the end of him being upset, he was like, man, am I still getting dinner? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'll still buy you dinner. He's like, all right, man, whatever. Let's get this car. And that's all it took. Like, I was just, I still laugh at that story because I can't get the reaction and the back and forth was just, it was spot on. It was funny as hell. I tell that story every time I get a chance just because it is a funny sub-story to the main story of what we're telling. Finally get to this guy's house, and this guy lives in the woods. And I mean, I live in the woods, but this dude lives in the woods, okay? I mean, the woods. If he was going to hack us to death, he would have all the opportunity in the world, because I don't know where the hell I was. And on top of that, we're in the woods. I had no bearing on where we were at. All I knew was where the road was, and it was a mile back the other way. So we get there, him and a buddy his, I guess they're partying, whatever they're drinking, and the wagon's sitting right inside. And he comes up to me, he's like, damn, I didn't think you were really coming. And I was like, hey man, I told you I'd be here. Shoot, I wasn't going to pass up on the wagon. So we get talking to him, and he tells me what happened. You know, he bought the car and ended up going up the end, whatever. And he's got a Mustang. He's got like a Fox body Mustang that he's trying to get done too. So I think it was one of those things where it was definitely the last straw for him, and he wanted to get the money so that he could, I guess, finish the Mustang. Or, you know, I don't know that for a matter of factly. I'm just taking a guess. I just, you know, the logical would be like that's what it looks like. So, and anyway, so real nice guy. You know, deal went through great. You know, no problems, no hang-ups. So end up getting a car on the trailer, then we come back. I might have said it took 9 hours to get. It really didn't take 9 hours. It was 9 hours round trip, like 10 hours round trip. I think I made that mistake earlier on. Let me correct that now. It was 5 hours down and 5 hours back, roughly. So it was about a 10-hour trip. I don't know why. I just brain fart. Whatever. Anyway, so we get the trailer on. We get the car on the trailer and start heading out. End up getting some dinner. Come back home. Whatever. I think we got in probably about 1:30 in the morning, something like that. Because we had to stop and fuel up too, obviously, whatever. But yeah, we get back and we're sitting here looking at it, and it was too good a deal to pass up. So it was one of those things. It was like, listen, we're just going to buy it now, and then we'll figure out what to do with it. And I had a couple ideas. You know, LSs were out, so it was one of those things where, like, you know, you start seeing a few people doing the LS swap, but I didn't really have that kind of money. It was still in like the beginning stages of LS swapping, so I didn't have the resources to do that. And we're sitting there thinking about, yeah, you could put a 350 in it. There ain't nothing wrong with a 350. I love 350s just like everyone else. You know, they put them in everybody puts them in everything, so it just gets a little mundane after a while. You know, I like to see a little bit of flavor. Anyway, there's this show that I watch that I don't know if I can say the name, so I'm just going to tread lightly. I am certain that if you're watching our channel, you probably watch their show too. So their channel kind of inspired us in ways, I guess would be safe to say. And, you know, they do what we like to do, and that's kind of what what brought it on. But on one of their episodes, I actually saw them. They took a big block out of an RV and they put it into a car and actually drove the car. And the phrase, like, it really stuck with me because what they suggested was true, that you can get low mileage big blocks from RVs. And it was just one of those things where it's like, you know, it was an eye opener. It's like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? You never ever think about it. And then when someone just plops it out, you know, on TV, it's like, oh, I'm an idiot. So, that being said, now I'm looking for an RV because I figured I can get a big block for the wagon, which is what I was going to do. You know, yes, you can put a big block into a Chevelle wagon, and for a Malibu wagon like this in the 80s, they never came with a big block. So it was one of those things where I was like, okay, that might be kind of cool. Let's try it out. I lucked out, and there was a buddy of mine who lived up the street who, unfortunately, he had a tree fall on his, or it got damaged somehow. I'm not exactly 100% sure on what the scenario was on how it got damaged, but it only had about 58,000 miles on it. So as we're beating the bushes, he just happens to be, the way that this all lines up is crazy, because I was looking for a motor right when he was getting ready to move. He bought another place and he was leaving. So he calls me up, and because I asked him about the motor years back, like right after it happened, and he told me I couldn't have it because the insurance company had to come down. They had to take a look at the camper, or the RV rather. They had to take a look at it, and he didn't know what they were going to do. They might take it, they might not, blah blah blah. So he had to wait on that. And I wanted the motor at that point because I had an old Nova that I was just going to slam it in there, whatever. So this all, fast forward, that was years back. So fast forward to now, I'm looking for a motor. I totally forget that he has that motor in the RV that I talked to him about it. He calls me out of the blue and says, hey, I have this motor that, you know, it's still in the RV. The insurance company paid me for the RV, but they said it was up to me to get rid of it. So that was a little odd. I guess they didn't want to be bothered with it, but he just wanted it out of his yard. It has to be out of his yard because, like I said, he's moving. So he can't leave it there for the new homeowners, obviously. So I tell Dave, I was like, Dave, you're not going to believe us. I was like, but, you know, our buddy's name, he was Tim. His name is Tim. And I said, Tim called me, and he said he doesn't want to sell me the big block anymore. He says, if I take the RV, he'll just give it to me. So we jump on that right away. We drive down the street, and it's about 2 miles. And sure enough, you know, we meet up with Timmy, and the RV's sitting at the bottom of his yard, and there's weeds growing up all around. The damn thing was sitting there for God knows how long. I mean, it was at least 5 years since the last time I talked to him about it, about potentially getting it for the Nova. And he tells me, he goes, yeah, man, there it is, keys are in it, whatever. So, like an idiot, I'm like, well, let's see if it starts up. Of course it doesn't start. Someone took all the batteries out of it, and there was no way this thing was going to turn over. So, I actually had my ep.1 back at this point, my Silverado. So, we hooked up a chain to it, and I told Dave, I was like, I don't know, man, this thing is pretty big. I don't know. This is an RV. It's like, it's a dually. It is a, I don't know what the classification would be called, but it's not a van RV. This is the big, you know, square nose. This is a big RV. So I told him, I said, I don't know if the truck's going to pull it. Ends up the truck was pulling it. Ended up the truck did pull it, was able to pull it. And I just remember looks going down the road to my house because the weeds and everything is hanging off it's hanging off the back of this RV as we're going down the road. I mean, we tried to pull it off as best we could, but I mean, we're running on 3 full tires. Both front tires are full of air. 1 tire in the back is full of air. The other now it has dually wheels, so both inside tires are completely just shot. So the one outside tire is full, and the one outside tire on the other side is like half full. So it's rubbing pretty hard on the inside tire. It's bulging out pretty good. So we get going down the road. Now this thing, like I said, we checked all the fluids before we actually drug it out, and it still had brake fluids and everything looked okay, but so we got down the road. We did like a little quick stop. Okay, just make sure you can stop because I didn't want the RV to plow into the back of me. No problem. So we get going down the road. It stops. I stop. No worries. Sweet. We'll just take it nice and slow, and we'll get on down the road. Start going down the road. Now this is back when I really didn't have the spot that I have right now. I was kind of storing stuff at on my dad's property, which in his shop wasn't like what it was right now either. So it was one of those things where I was just going to try to sneak it in. Like he's not going to notice an RV just appearing out of nowhere, right? But that was the mentality. I was like, I would have slide it in, and I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission at this point. So as soon as I say that, he passes us coming the other way, and the phone just starts blowing up. I answer. He's on the other end, of course. Where do you think you're taking that thing? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Because he knew I was getting a big block, but he didn't know where I was getting the big block from. So this was all new to him. He didn't know I was pulling out an RV. So we get back to the long and short of this story is he told me I couldn't take it to his place. Okay, fair enough. My aunt just happens to live literally a football field away. Like I can see her place from my dad's place. So I call her up and I'm like, Sherry, I say, I'm coming. I need to park a vehicle at your place for just a little bit. I got to take a motor out of it. Never told her it was an RV. Never told her it was an RV, not once. So, of course, 100%. Oh, yeah, sure, that's no problem. Just, bring it on down whenever you get a chance. I was like, well, me and Dave are bringing it right now. I just wanted to, kind of, ask you before I got there. Yeah, sure, just park it down behind the house, no problem. So, past my dad. He calls us blah. Can't park it there. Going to park it at my aunt's. We get about halfway between the spot where my dad saw me and my aunt's, and the brakes blow out in the RV. And the reason I know this is not because Dave hit me, because he didn't hit me. Because Dave, he probably will never take credit for it, but he actually is a better driver than what he lets on. I see this out the window, and my initial response was just like, "Oh, hey, man, we're going slow. We're only going like 20 miles an hour." And no, it's not a like hello wave. It's like a panic wave, right? So we had this happen one time before with a buddy of ours, and we towed a car from a garage, and it had a beehive underneath the dash. And the bees decided to come out halfway down the road. So he's waving his arm in the same fashion that our buddy was. And I'm thinking, oh God, this is a panic wave. What's going on? So I tap the brakes a little bit. He's not stopping. I'm like, shoot, what do I do? So I let off the gas and I start weaving like this. And thank God nobody was coming. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done. But I'm doing this in the road, going back and forth between lanes to try to get the friction on the tires to slow the thing down. And again, we're only doing 20 miles an hour. You'd think that's not that fast. It really isn't. But you have the added safety of brakes. If you take your brakes away, 10 mile an hour is scary. Not to mention 20 mile an hour with something that weighs, 15,000 pounds behind me. I don't care how big your HD is, it's taking you with it whenever, and we're chained together. Like, there was no way around this. I'm either like kissing my back bumper goodbye, or we're going to figure out a way to slow this down. So we pull into the driveway, and the way that my aunt's driveway works is there's a top part of the driveway, and there's a bottom part of the driveway. She lives in the bottom part of the driveway. It has a hill that comes down, and you come into her house. So we get it stopped literally like 50 feet before the hill, before the drop off. And thank God, because I was really like, I just got my truck back and I didn't want it to be destroyed. So get unchained, and now we're sitting there looking at each other like, well, dude, there's nothing we can do. We have to push it down the hill because we're blocked. She has a shared driveway. I should probably mention that. So we can't just let it sit on the driveway. I said, okay, well, Dave said, I'll drive, switch with me. I'll drive the RV. That way, if anything happens, I'll just take responsibility for it, whatever. And he won't be responsible. I said, hook the chain up to the rear and hook it up to the front of my truck, and then we'll kind of use my truck to kind of like an anchor, essentially. Which that's what we were going for. If that was a good idea or not, I have no idea because we weren't able to do it. We got it hooked up to the back bumper of the RV, and then we got it hooked up to the front bumper of the truck. We start going down the hill, and I guess the slack that I put in the chain, because I didn't want to be right up on it, I guess something fell off somewhere. And now the truck is no longer hooked to the RV. Now I know there's going to be a lot of people out there saying, oh, just jam it and park. Yeah, that doesn't work. I tried that. The e-brake? No. It was rusted to the side of the panel. There was no pushing the e-brake on. So now I'm in essentially free fall with 15,000 pounds of RV behind me. And my aunt notices that we're coming down the driveway, so she comes out to grid. I'm flagging her out the window, get away, because I don't know what's going to happen. Now, she lives in a spot where it's kind of like a plateau. So she has a hill that comes down to her driveway, and then she has her house and her shed, and she's got a couple bushes here and there, and then it goes down another hill, and then down another hill that goes into a valley. Now that valley is it's state land, so there's no development there. There's no nothing. There's no way I can pull 15,000 pounds of truck back up the hill if I can't get this thing stopped. So I'm sitting there thinking about what I'm going to do, and you have all of 3 seconds to figure out where you're planting this thing. And the only thing I could do is, unfortunately, I had to smoke one of her bushes. Sorry, this happened. She had this really beautiful butterfly bush, and I had to run over that thing, and I was just lucky enough that it was big enough that the roots stuck in the ground, and the bush actually dragged everything underneath the camper, the RV, to actually bring me to a stop. Slow enough to where I could actually jam it in the park. So I ended up owning a new butterfly bush, which I had to replant that next year. But we did get it stopped, and that was a grace of God moment. So after the freak out was over with, because she was none too happy that I just mowed down her butterfly bush. I told her it was only going to be there for a couple days, and it really was only there for a couple days. We started to cut out the floor. We actually ended up it took us about 3 days, I'd say, of cutting to actually get the motor out and get it on the engine stand. And it was the craziest thing to get that motor into the wagon and actually get it running and tell people this is the hell we went through to get this car going and to get it down the street. And we got it together. I remember this. We got it together in March or April, I think is when we actually got it together and actually running. All of our cars, for some reason or another, because God forbid we take the time that we need to actually put them together the right way. They are really just slammed together, because we always try to go to Cruise Week in OC, Maryland, every year for spring, and it's been this just I say it's me. Dave already has a really nice Monte Carlo, and he works diligently on it, so it is ready at all times. It's always me that has to change at the last second. And I want to do this, or let's do blah blah blah, and getting out. I have ADD. That's just what it is. So this should be called the ADD wagon. But we ended up getting it together in March, April, and then actually took it down to OC. That was the first year we got it down with that motor. And no cam, nothing like that. It was still running the stock heads and everything that it came out of out of the RV with. The only thing that would change, we had to change the oil pan, obviously. And then headers. Headers are another thing. I don't know why for a G-body, big block headers are like $900. That is ridiculous to me. I'm here to let you in on a tip right now. A set of 70 Chevelle headers will fit. I made them fit on here. But you definitely got to do a little massaging and you got to do a little bit of cutting. I had to cut one of the motor mounts, the clamshell, one of the corners, and then I had to weld it in a little spot in the back to actually make that structure. The way that the actual tube went down past, I had to do that. And you can't run a stock starter because it actually bumps against the number 6. I think it's 6. The number 6 header tube that comes down. And you could smash the hell out of it if you really wanted to, but it would be so thin. A mini starter, what are they, $200? I put that in there and it fit perfect. I did have to turn it a little bit, but it fit beautiful. The only pipe that needed massaged was, I believe, the number 2. 2? No, number 3. Number 3 needed massaged just a touch to make the corner. But other than that, I mean, they worked. And you gotta think, 70 Chevelle headers. I literally picked them up in New Jersey for $100 because I didn't know if they were going to fit or not. I was just like, yeah, let's try it. So they ended up working. So if you have a G body and you got a big block in it, see if you can find some, like crappy Chevelle headers on Marketplace or yard sale or whatever, and try them out first because they definitely work for me. They're still in there now. But that is how we got the motor, how we got the wagon, how we got this heap together for its first stage. Now we're currently working on painting it, and I'd like to do a couple little things to it, but I don't think the big block's ever going to come out. I have a 6.0 LS right now I'd love to put in here, but at the same time, it's like, that was the last trip that me and my buddy, that was the last car trip that me and him took, and that was the last project that he helped me work on, and I don't think it would feel right to switch it up. So I think we're just gonna rock it and get a good paint job on it, and you guys will be here to see every step of the way. So, but that is the beginning stories of the wagon and how she made her journey from Virginia to here. So, thanks guys for sticking around. I do appreciate it. We definitely got some more videos coming out. Hopefully the parts for the Firebird will be here soon, so we can continue on that. I really want to get that thing fired before Christmas. That would be fantastic. So we're going to start seeing if we can't hammer away on that. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all of our future content. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you on the next one.